Welcome to another episode of Cycling Hard Sport on Ciclisme. Today we have Izzy Sharp. She's a great rider from the UK. She's making the step up into senior ranks with the Lidl-Trek team, who are doing quite amazing things in terms of governance. I know that's a weird thing to look for in a team, but as I'm getting older, I'm starting to look at how riders are treated, and they seem to certainly treat their riders in one of the best ways, and certainly their women's team with their kind of prize money matching that they did for things like Roubaix. Um, but yeah, Izzy's a great person to chat to. She's clearly got a ton of potential. And yeah, I just hope you enjoyed the episode. Hello, thanks for taking the time. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. As we speak, you're kind of end of second year junior, going into elites and under 23s. Are you, well, yeah, how are you looking forward? How are things shaping up for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's all gone really well so far, and I think it's a big step, and there's going to be a lot to learn. But I suppose with every step you make, like when I came to junior, it was really confusing, but then I suppose you get the hang of things. So I think you'll get some getting used to, but I'm really looking forward to it. So
Oh, awesome. And obviously you signed for Lidl-Trek along with, I want to say, was it both Holmgren sisters? I can't remember because they announced three at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah.
Um, yeah, how did that, firstly, yeah, how did that come about?
Well, there's quite a lot to it actually. So in December, the agent that I'm with now approached me. But at the time, it just didn't feel right getting an agent. Like I really got on with him, and it was all left on good terms. But I just said like it didn't feel right because at that point I wasn't talking to any teams. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I had no result from my second year yet because it hadn't even begun. So I was like, no, I'm all right for now. And then January, I started doing my own legwork because I kind of wanted to do it myself to an extent and just sort of like to get the pushing going. So I messaged a lot of teams. Um, the first being Yumbo actually, and I got a really quick reply from a woman called Ezra who's left now, and she works for EF I think now. But she was really lovely, like really helped me out a lot, and like helped me understand what I was meant to do because it's a whole new world and you don't know
Hmm.
what's right to do and what's wrong to do. So yeah, I messaged quite a lot of teams myself and was speaking to them, and then eventually one Ghent and a lot of teams come in, so it got quite overwhelming, and that's when my agent came back and was like, "Look, do you want some help now?" So I got him to help, and it was a good like four teams I'd say that I was really and ahhing about because they all had they were all so good, but you'd always argue like, "Oh, I don't want to make the wrong decision," because there was like they were so like on par in a way in my mind, and there was I just constantly like debate with myself like, "Oh, maybe that one, maybe that one." And then yeah, Trek was actually the last one that come in. And in December I did message Ina, who's like the DS, and she said it was too early to offer anything besides interest. Um, and then actually Ellen Van Dyke came to one of my races and started talking to me and like asking me questions and stuff, and I was like, that's a bit weird. And then when I had my first chat with Ina, she was like, "Yeah, we sent her to get out and ask you questions and stuff." So that's kind of how it all came about. It was the last team that came in, but it was the one that felt the most right, and it was my dream team, so I just couldn't turn the opportunity down. So, um, yeah, it was really weird. They were one of the last ones, and straight away I was like, "Yeah, that's it." It just felt right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess sometimes like holding on can be a better way forward. It's kind of it's
yeah.
crazy that that's worked out for you. And
Mm.
I guess if you know it's right, you know it's right. Um,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people rush into it, which isn't a bad thing because all it takes is you to have a bad season or a bad crash, and sometimes the teams can just disappear. So
mm,
sometimes it is good to be like, right, I've got a team that's finalised, but at the same time, in the situation I was in, I just was kind of waiting because I didn't know what was right. And then yeah, they came forward and said they were interested. So then it was yeah, full steam ahead with them really.
gosh, and how long was it between signing and then them announcing it? Like, were you able to? Also, yeah, were you embargoed from saying anything? Were you having just to sit
Yeah.
on it and be like, I've got this really exciting news. It's my dream team, and I'm just sat here waiting.
Yeah, yeah, it was like that. So April was the race when Ellen came, and I think I started talking to them in April. I knew I was going to sign with them in May, and then my contract was signed on my 18th birthday, so
Oh,
June
nice.
29th. So I held it off like a week or two just so it could be on my birthday.
Oh,
They were like,
nice.
"Where's this contract?" And I was like, "Just give me a week." So yeah, so I actually signed it end of June. So they didn't announce it till when was it?
I want to say
Like a couple months.
August. Yeah.
Yeah, September maybe. Yeah, August, September.
Yeah,
So
because I
yeah, a
think
couple months.
I'll be honest, I think I saw that news and then messaged you as like, you'll be a great person to chat to. So it would have been whenever
Yeah,
we started talking about then.
yeah. Well, yeah, it was a lot to sit on, and like you said, I was at a lot of races, and like people kept asking me because people knew I'd signed, they didn't know where, and it was like, just wait.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it's hard
God.
to resist temptation, but
Yeah, and obviously now I think you've got bikes, you've got your kit and all that sorted. How?
kind of yeah. So I went to Milan and did my bike fit, and I got that and brought that back as well as like my shoes, my insoles, and like got a Wahoo and all that, which is a transfer from Garmin.
Ooh,
And then yeah, and then the kit you do like they like size you up, and then you don't get it till December because it takes a couple months. It's all like custom fit, so you can like adjust where you want. So although I really wanted the kit then, it's worth waiting for because you get it all done then. And our first training camp's in Calp in December, so that's why you get it then because you don't really need it before.
yeah, of course.
Um, so yeah, that's actually when I get the kit. But yeah, it's all like custom fitted because sometimes it would fit perfect, but sometimes like the arms are too long or you wanted
Hmm.
it a bit tighter here and there. So yeah, you get that all done. So I've got everything besides the kit really, I think, and the aero
Yeah,
helmet. I've got size for that too, but I'll get that soon.
I guess like also like everyone's constantly evolving. So like you get kit and then you're like, well, I might grow a little bit or,
Yeah.
change very slightly. And then
Yeah, I kind of had to think about it as well because I had off season like just before, so I had like a month off. And yeah, even just that, I was like, well, I'm going to be a couple kilos heavier than what I will be in racing. So you have to kind of think, right, if it was a little bit snug, that's all right because I'm going to lose some weight. So
yeah.
you kind of got to think about that as well. It was just weird. I was like, yeah, well, I've got a little bit of tub on me right now, so got to take that into consideration.
Yeah, but that's cyclist level top, like that's nothing. Like everyone else would go, you look like a prime cut steak, like compared to, you know, like I'm carrying proper timber. Um, but yeah, kind of crazy how that's all come about. I mean, for me, Lidl-Trek are like one of the top, certainly in the women's as well, certainly one of the top teams, and the way they look after the younger riders, like we saw with Gaia, who's
Mm,
like the tiniest little thing, but like there was a race she didn't do. I can't remember which one it was, but of the three, quote unquote grand tours that the women can do, like she didn't do one. And I was like, everyone's like, oh my God, like she could have won that, but actually she's still young, she's still developing. It's better
yeah,
to kind of hold her back and look after her kind of long term rather than seek that short term success.
yeah,
Was that
definitely.
something that you considered, or like I know you said it was a dream team, but like what was going through your thoughts in terms of who to sign for?
Um, a lot went into it, like what I wanted from the team. Um, I definitely wanted to be able to still do track, which is something that they've allowed me to do. Um, there wasn't many teams that said no actually, but a lot of teams said to me like, "Oh, next year we'll give you all the classics and all of this," which is a dream. But at the same time, if I went and did Gent-Wevelgem, Flanders, and all the rest of them, I'd end up just in a pit and constantly staring at the back of the race for half of it because I speak to loads of people. I spoke to Anna Henderson actually when we were at Worlds, and I was like, "What's the hardest races? Like, is it the Tour de France? Is it what is it?"
Mm,
She was like, "No, they're like the easiest things." She's like, "It's the classics because it's just an all-out, however many K race, and it's so intense." Um, so it's dreamy to be able for teams to say, "Yeah, you can do them," because I did want to, but I liked that Trek were like, we're gonna start you on lower level races with some bigger races as well if it suits, but
mm,
not rush my development, and that's what I really liked. And they were just really supporting, and they had already because the whole like younger looking at the young generation is new to a lot of teams.
mm.
Like for example, I was speaking to Movistar, and they were like, I would have been their like first junior I think they'd ever taken. So it was like that's a learning step for most teams at the minute is because it
Mm,
keeps going younger and younger and younger. Whereas Trek sort of had like thought about it all and was like, not that Movistar didn't, but
mm.
just when speaking to them, they were like, oh, we've already thought about the fact that the younger riders might need a bit more, have more questions and need a bit more support. So we've got people to do that, and we're getting more coaches to support the young. They sort of had it all thought out already, which I liked. We weren't going to be just pushed to the side as young
Mm.
riders. So, and the riders on the team are really lovely as well. Like I've had a conversation with a lot of them, and I think they've all sort of proved themselves. And a lot of them just were like, we just want to leave something good behind to a new generation, rather than being like use and abuse you sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
There's just a really nice vibe like from everyone, and it just all felt right. Like as soon as I heard Trek, I was like, yeah, I want to do it. But after my call with Vina and then speaking to the riders on the team, and then when it was announced, like the amount of positive feedback that come back from the team. Milan, every person was lovely. Like it's just, there's not one thing I've gone, yeah, that's made me regret it a bit, or that's not a positive thing. Like it's just been so good so far. So, yeah, I definitely feel like I made the right decision. So,
Yeah, and that's awesome. And it's kind of fitting, I feel, that Ellen was the one who kind of, scouted, pre-interviewed, whatever you want to call it, like,
yeah,
because looking at your Palmares, like that win in the time trial at Borsela, like felt very Ellen Van Dyke-esque. Like she'd completely obliterate like people, and you took 19 seconds out of second place in 14K, which is just like I can't even compute that. Like more than a
it was
second
a
per
bad day as
kilometer.
well. Yeah, it was a really bad day for me that as well. I was fuming with that because I was off so early, and I was like, oh, it's not enough, it's not enough. Like, and then it ended up being enough. But yeah, I was fuming with it initially, and then I was like, okay, fine, it's fine.
That that's mad though to be so disappointed because I was looking at I was like she was either on a super good day and everyone wasn't, or you know you're just so far ahead and you're like, oh no, this was a bad day. Like
It
if
was
actually on a
awful.
bad
I
day,
ended yeah, I ended up really sick as well that weekend. So that night, I was really sick. I was like, oh, that makes sense for why I felt awful. And then I nearly pulled out at the last stage. I was like, nah, I can't lose the GC now. So I just like sort of hid in the race and got round. So, um, yeah, but it was really weird that Ellen was there. Like I saw her and I was like, oh my God. And I went over. She was like, oh, are you Izzy? And I was like, yep. How do you know my name? But yeah, it was really nice because I do look up to her, I think, like in a rider profile. Like that's what I sort of want to be.
mm,
Um, so yeah, like just talking to her, and I didn't know she was there for scouting. But she was just asking questions like, "Oh, have you signed for a team yet? Have you done it?" And I was like, "That's a bit weird to ask." Like, and then yeah, like a couple of weeks later, I was just like, "Yeah, they're interested." And Benina told me that Ellen was there with. She got an email with like loads of questions she had to ask and find out. So
God,
because she was pregnant, so they were like, "We're going to use her as a scouting agent now." So yeah, she was out
nice.
there.
Yeah, let's
I
keep using the pregnant woman. There we go. Can't
yeah, she
race.
loved it though. It was quite close to where she lives, I think, because obviously it is in the Netherlands, and
Yeah,
yeah, you were just chatting away, and I was just like, it's just crazy. Like even that she was there, and then when she knew my name, I was like,
that must be freaky. Like you know, this world class time trialer just knowing who you are rather than the
yeah,
other way around and
nuts. Like
deliberately seeking you out.
yeah, so odd. And even like now that I'm going to like races, and when I was getting all these DMs and stuff, like because I'd signed, and I was like, Mom, like like Lucinda Brown's messaging me and helping me, and it like I don't really show excitement that well, but like she can tell because she's my mum, and she's like, you do know like you're just your teammates now, and I was like, yeah, don't say it like that. That's weird.
Yeah,
Not
but
quite sunk in yet.
yeah, it's like it's mad to think of such a star-studded lineup that you're just teammates with
Yeah,
and just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna room with, chill out with Lizzie
yeah,
one day.
yeah. It's weird. It's really not. It's not sunk in at all. It's like super weird. Like process that's happening.
Well,
And I
I
said, I was like, even when I'm like in America with them, I feel like it's not gonna sink in still. I feel like I'm just there as like a tag along.
yeah, yeah, like someone who's won a prize just happens to
Yeah,
be there.
yeah, yeah. Like literally, I was just even when I was doing the kit and stuff. Or I sent a video to my girlfriend, and she was like, "Yeah, it doesn't really sink in. You just look like you're just an apprentice that's excited about the the kit." And I was like, "Oh, cheers."
Yeah, I mean, fair. Um, but like, not to set teammates against each other, but have you got a dream roommate yet? or like one that you're like, oh, I absolutely would just love to chill with that person?
A dream roommate. I'd say probably Ellen or Lizzie. Because I've spoke to Lizzie already on the phone, and she's just a super chill, nice person, and really helpful. I mean, Ellen's just more because like I idolize her and just want to like I don't know, like when you get chatting, it's just you can learn a lot from them people, a hell of a lot.
Hmm.
So yeah, but like Lucinda Brand's lovely. Like I spoke to so many people that they're so open to help. Like Elisa Longoborghini is actually who got me the contact to Ina. I just messaged
Wow.
her on Instagram and I was like, oh, I'm looking for the email. Didn't expect a reply, and 20 minutes later, she was replying. And like I've asked her questions since joining the team, and she's been really good. So I'm not honestly, everyone I spoke to so far has been lovely. So yeah, I think I'd be a bit starstruck no matter who I'm with.
Bless you. Um, Changing tack entirely, like, well, and kind of speaking about people you've discussed things with. You mentioned you chatted to Anna Henderson at the Home Worlds. I call them the Home Worlds, but from what I gather, you're from the South Coast, and
Hmm.
this was in Scotland. Like geographically, it would be a more of a home world to have them in Paris than to bother with
Yeah,
Scotland.
very
But
true.
what was it like to race on quote unquote home roads and with a British crowd?
Yeah, I mean it was mega. Like last year when I was in Australia, there was people still cheering for GB, and I was like, that's just crazy that we're in Australia and we still have people like cheering us on.
Hmm.
So then when I went to the home worlds, I was like, nearly everyone here is cheering us on. And I had a shocker of a road race. I was awful in it. I felt awful. I was getting dropped and then back on and then dropped and back on, and it was like a yo-yo all day.
God, it was not
And
an easy course to like
it
hide
was
in the
awful.
wheels.
Yeah, I
Like,
think if it wasn't for those two steep climbs they put in it, I would have been all right with the other ones. But they just cracked me, and like I just didn't feel good. Well, I thought I didn't feel good, and I was going to pull out on like lap one, lap two. I kept being like, I'm going to pull out, and I'm not very good at giving up, so I kept going, and I'm so glad I did because it was just the experience of having all those like people down the home straight, all kind of there for you. Do you know what I mean? Not
hmm.
me, but TB. So it's like, yeah, I'm so glad I did finish. And in the end, it wasn't a bad result. I think I was like around 15th ish. I can't remember. So I actually ended up doing all right. But yeah, it was just yeah, it was dreamy really. It was just crazy. Like the atmosphere was unreal. And although the course was bad, it was so great for spectatorship because it's such a short route that you had kind of people everywhere.
Hmm.
So yeah, actually like they did quite well with that side of things. Yeah, I mean it was really cool. It was mega, but yeah, the course wasn't ideal.
No, and then you did the time trial, and I think you got a silver medal in that.
Yeah, yeah, which is again annoying because they put this climb in at the end, and if there wasn't a climb at the end, I would have won. She literally gained 60 seconds up the climb, and I was like,
Oh.
yeah, there we are. But I mean, it was fair. Do you know what I mean? It was all fair, but it was frustrating. I was like, oh, without that, I would have won. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I
mega
mean,
as well. That final climb was nuts. Like the amount of people on that final climb, and because you're going so slow. Although I was in a hole, I wasn't taking it in. I was kind of like, wow, there's a lot of people here. Like,
mm.
so that was really cool. And being home, a lot of my family could come as well. So a lot of my family was there, and I have some family in Scotland that came and surprised me. And I said to him, I'd go up the final climb, and I saw my cousin, and I was like, "Am I like going so deep? I'm like hallucinating, or is he actually here?" I was like, "I don't really know." So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I've dug deep in time trials, but never to the point where I'm questioning existence and whether hallucinations happen. Like that's next
yeah. Well,
level deep.
I got a lot of messages after that race because the camera was on me, and I was in that state, like just
They did
it was
that.
horrible.
I thought the camera people were a bit mean with that because they just like shove a camera in your face when you like that sort of climb. You know,
Yeah,
I've not got a lot of experience, but like I did a hill climb once, and it was the most awful thing I've ever done. Like I was a
mm,
climber when I rode, but this was like 7 minute climb in the Peak District and horrid. And you could just get to the top and it's like dead. And like
yeah.
I could think of nothing worse than someone with a camera filming me at that point. So how all of you kept your cool because I would be like I'd just be angry at them, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. No, I kind of lost my cool in general because I was so like hot and stuff. I just need everything off me. I like shouted at the Swannies a bit 'cause I was like, I need it off me, and they were just like recording. And, oh. And they did like a slow mo as well as I'm going up the climb with like drool hanging out my mouth. I was like, oh cheers, you got the good shot of me, didn't you? Like I was just like, cheers.
Yeah, it's not all pretty in cycling, eh?
No, not at all. But I remember
Um,
I saw 500 meters to go with my eyes were shut and I looked up and it was 500 to go. And I genuinely think if I had stopped at 500 meters to go, it would have been the same reaction as the top. So I don't actually know how I got up there, but yeah, I was so far gone.
yeah. Um, and yeah, like moving on to, well, you said earlier you got a ton of interest after winning Gent-Wevelgem. Like, what was that like to race and to win? Especially because was that more of a club one? Because like sometimes as a junior you're racing as nations and in the Nations
Mm.
Cup, and sometimes you're racing just as club teams. So, occasionally you're going up against people like Cat Ferguson and Imogen Wolf, and then sometimes they're your teammate and you're helping each other out. Like how does that firstly, how does that work? And yeah, how was that race?
Um, it's really weird. It's really weird because it's like you say, you have to like you're always teammates in some regard though. Like you should have respect for each other in the peloton. Like
Mm,
even in a national series race, like the GB group seems to just like still have like a massive amount of respect for each other. Like so yeah, it was odd because obviously as well, like it was quite threatening. Like Kat's a very good rider, so I was like, oh, I could actually lose to it because we're against each other now. Um, but I actually didn't race that one because the conditions were awful. It was like chucking it down. It was so cold. The course was so sketchy. Like most of the corners had like a strip of cobbles as you were turning, so you were on the wet
ooh,
as you turn, just cobbles. And I was like, I had so much hope for Omloop and like races that year. I was like, all it takes is to go down and you're out. And
mm,
it was I couldn't think like that, but at the same time I kind of had to in regards to the teams and stuff. Because I already had been talking to quite a few and I was getting a lot of DMs like the night before of races, like, let's see how you do tomorrow. Like, and it was them just trying to encourage me. But when you're hoping to get on the team, it feels like pressure a little bit because you're like,
mm.
oh God, they're watching. Like, I need to get the result and pull through and stuff. So, um, and in the end, yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Like I've come all this way, like I might as well
Yeah.
give it a crack. And I'm glad I did. um, but yeah, I don't think any of it really sinks in, to be honest. Because I mean, I always get told like I'm quite a humble and grounded person. Like I don't let things get to my head at all because I can see how some riders do it, and I don't want to be like that. I don't really like how that look on a person when they're like quite full of themselves and get too high up. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'd stay quite grounded, but sometimes it's too far. So I don't really appreciate what's going on or like what I'm doing because I don't know, my head can't really process it. So like when I look at like last year, like the winner of Ghent, I can't program that I've now done that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Or like even like Trek, it's like it doesn't feel real because I don't know, I'm like, why am I some little southerner that's got a little Trek? Like so yeah, it was mega. Like the feeling was unreal because I crossed the finish line and my girlfriend was there actually. And I said to her, I was like, it sounds cocky now, but I was like, I'm gonna go world tour, and it was the realization of like I've done it. Like every
Mm.
team was waiting for this big result, and I did it. And I literally said to her, I was like, I can't believe it. I've done it. I'm gonna go world tour. Like I just knew it, and I was like, that's it now. Like it was crazy. It was just the most like relieving feeling that I just yeah. And like a half lap to go, my granddad was on the other side of the course, and I shook my head. I was like, I can't. Like it was so cold and everyone was in like layers and I just had this skin suit on in like 2 degrees. My fingers were purple and like my legs just couldn't switch on. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I can now sprint. Do you know what I mean? I was getting
Mm.
dropped in like the corners and stuff. So, um, and yeah, I think I just sort of saw red. Like my dad said to me, he was like, I saw you go in that final corner. And I was like, yeah, no one's getting around. Because I just
Wow.
sort of like, you can just see it in me, like when I've got that drive. Because I just didn't feel good. So I had to make myself like, I don't know, like got to like mentally psych yourself up. So I was telling
Mm.
myself, I was like, do you want this contract or not? And like sort of psyching myself up. And then yeah, so I think that's what sort of did it, to be honest, because my legs weren't there, my head was. So um, and I do believe that mentality is what gets you wins, not always like your legs and stuff. Because going to a race positive, for me, anyways, I always do well. if I'm negative going into it, I'll do bad. So
Yeah, I guess like to an extent, when you're at that level, everyone's good. Like
mm,
physically, like there's not much to separate you. Like in World Tour, like the difference, even it's kind of mad. Like the difference between sprinters and climbers on climbs is like it's only 1%, but it looks a lot worse than that. But
yeah,
a sprinter can would outclimb most club people, like guaranteed. So a lot of
mm,
the time it is just it has to come down to the brain and
mm,
how you strategize, I guess, and how you start thinking. It's kind of
yeah,
crazy that you've got that already at this point in your career. It's like, well, that sets you up for the rest. Like that's something
yeah.
that I guess would occur to people a lot older. Um, but after winning Ghent, like I know you said you had tons of contract offers. Did you allow yourself chance to relax, or did you go, well, I can't rest on my laurels. I've won this, but still nothing's guaranteed. I've still got to perform, week in, week out and have those good days.
Yeah, definitely. Like that was one good day. You're only as good as your last performance, and like all it took was for me to, like I say, I've seen it happen where teams might pull out because you've suddenly crashed and you've done your collarbone and they know you're out then. And it's not as common now, but I know loads of people that have had it, and you can't switch off because if you go and come 60th 3 days in a row at Borsell, well, you're going to still lose those offers because where's that gone? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm not a person who like does that anyways. Like I always think you should do your best all the time, no matter where you're at. Like now I've got the contract. I'm not just gonna sit up for 3 years. Do you know what I mean? Because you just like for me, Ghent was the win for the team, for me getting a team,
Mm.
and then the rest was just for myself. Do you know what I mean? Like even once the contract was signed at Road Worlds and Track Worlds, like I still had the same drive to win because that's just me. It's just competitive. So
Yeah,
yeah.
gosh. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how things work for that. And did a win at Ghent actually increase the pressure on you then? Because you said like it's kind of like you have to prove it's not a fluke that you won. You kind of have to go, oh well, yeah, I won that. Now I've got to win others to kind of reinforce how good I am.
Yeah, definitely. And like consistency is key, but also if I only won sprints the whole year, you kind of narrowing yourself down to only being that. Whereas the more versatile you can make yourself, the better as well. So like I wanted to go and then win a time trial because that's just another thing ticked off that I can do. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
sort of proving yourself in other aspects. So I mean, at the start of the year, I went to Binder, and last year I came like 60 something, I think it was, and I come fourth this year. And I mean, I messed up the sprint, so I think I could have got third really, but it's like even that, I thought, oh, hang on, like, I'm alright here. Like that's one
Hmm.
that I'm meant to be bad at. And then yeah, I won again, and I was like, okay. And then yeah, Borsell, I won the time trial, and then like I say, I got six, so it's just a matter of holding on to GC at that point and just doing everything I could to protect the jersey. Um, and yeah, I mean Flanders I had to pull out of because I crashed not long before. I ended up with my proper bad migraine, so it wasn't worth
Hmm.
the risk. Sorry, there's a cat pushing in the door.
Oh, I think I heard one earlier. I was like, I'm sure there's a cat.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm with my girlfriend, so it's not mine, but he's quite nosy. He loves to get in the bed, so ignore
Oh.
him. Um, but yeah, so yeah, it's just keeping consistent. And like I say, like I had to, like World Championships was also like my biggest goal of the year. So if I switched off earlier, I wouldn't have made it through to there in the place I wanted to. So yeah, I definitely couldn't switch off at all.
Wow. And kind of looking to the future, obviously, we've mentioned it quite a few times already. You've signed this contract with Lidl. Like, what are your immediate plans with that? Um, going into next season, and also like, how do you measure success? Like, when you look back in a couple of seasons' time, how will you know you've been successful?
Um, well, I think firstly, like like I said earlier, this next year is just going to be a development year. I know I've got like there's camps coming up, so on the 16th, so probably like a week's time, I think.
Hmm.
I'm going to America, but that's just a massive meet and greet. You go and have fun, like no bikes really. Like, there's some mountain bikes there that you can like ride, but it's just a massive like fun thing for like 5 days, I think it is. Um, and then I've got my first training camp in December, which is like a 2 week thing in Cap. Um, but I'm not really sure on the race season yet. I think I'm going to find out in America because that's when they sort of got it all finalized. Because when I was back riding, people were still finishing their seasons. I had quite
Mm.
an early off season because I crashed. So, um, yeah, so I think I'll find out more. I mean, there's been talk of maybe a Tour Down Under um, in January, but that's going to be tough picking. And it's just sort of brought up like a possibility depending what other riders are doing.
Mm.
Let me just grab this cat. He's like walking off the sides.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
Um,
I
yeah, he's got a new friend to join. Um, but yeah, I think to be honest, in the next 3 years, it's obviously going to be hard because it's not like you can measure it off of winning bike races because you're not going to when you
Mm.
when you're first year. Like it's very difficult to. So I think for me, it's like more a matter of like what I learn and how I develop as a rider, more like technically, tactically, how much I can do for the team. And like I feel like as well, like in your first year, you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes and do things wrong because it's all new.
Mm.
Um, so I feel like measuring success is more like looking more at power, because that shows your development over the 3 years and like how you can help your teammates, you know. But I also like over junior years, it's not like I've just developed as a physical rider, it's also like mentally as well. Like,
Mm.
and I think you can always adapt in those areas too, and like how you go into a race and tactically. I think everything. I think it's more looking like at the finer details rather than results now because that doesn't really matter. Like I'm going to be there for my teammates rather than for my own success. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's more looking at it in other aspects, I think.
I got you, bro. Well, yeah. I wish you all the success. How can people find you on like social media? Keep up with you. Keep seeing what results you're getting. Things like that.
Yeah. I think Instagram's probably the best place. So it's just Izzy Sharp and then two underscores. But yeah, I need to start getting into Twitter and stuff because apparently that's quite big for stuff. I literally have an account, but I think I've got like 5 followers. I don't use it, so I definitely need to get on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks for your time, and we'll have to speak again soon.
Yeah, of course, mega. Thank you.
There we go. What a lovely, lovely person she is. A great person, as I said, to chat to. Um, and yeah, like, let's keep an eye on her for the future because I reckon give it a couple of years, she's going to be really pulling up some trees in certain events. So let's keep watching.